evening and welcome back to CNN Money Switzerland. I'm Olivia Chang. It's time to bring you your top headlines for tonight. The Swiss government today announced a host of new measures. First of all, an additional 14 billion Swiss francs will now go towards unemployment insurance funding. Since March, about 190,000 companies have applied for the short-time program of wage subsidies. This affects about 37% of employees across the country. Now, on the issue of vaccines, Interior Minister Alain Berset did say the Swiss government is in touch with Lonza about the potential COVID-19 vaccine. It's trying to ensure good access to the product, but did acknowledge that this would require international cooperation. Lonza's interim CEO Albert Benny told us on the program this week that he expects mass production of the vaccine as early as December. And finally, aid is also being poured into the Swiss wine sector. It has been heavily impacted from the shutdown of restaurants as well as closures of events. It's hoped the industry can be partially boosted by the latest financial support of about 10 million Swiss francs. Meanwhile, Switzerland Stock Exchange SIX is adding an extra 10 minutes to its trading hours. This was reported by AWT today and it will start from June the 22nd. After 5:30 p.m, the brief window will allow trades at the closing price. Back in March, the supervisor for Switzerland's financial industry relaxed several rules on how much money banks have to put aside for potential losses. FINMA said the goal was to help lenders during the pandemic and to free up credit for the crippled economy. Today, it extended some of those measures until the end of the year. They were actually due to expire in July. Now, a Swiss startup is heading to the Big Apple. Mobility tech firm Axon Vibe is trying to make those commutes just a little bit more smoother in New York. That's especially for overnight essential workers during this whole period. Take a listen.
Imagine having to get to work at 2 in the morning when New York's subway is closed for cleaning. Essential Connector is an app developed in Switzerland to tackle just that. It gives essential workers access to alternative transport to get to work.
We got a request from the MTA, so the Metropolitan Transport Authority from New York, if we can quickly launch an app which in one hand informs the user, the essential workers, what kind of public transport system are available, and on the other hand, especially during the downtime between 1 and 5, offers them car for hire rides through to different kind of car for hire operators in New York, where MTA is going to pay the costs. And what we do, I mean, there are essentially two components in the app. So one is that you can book these car for hire services through to these different providers through to the app. And the second one is that we inform also people about disruptions in the subway network and further down the line about crowds potentially in the network and beyond the network to avoid COVID-19 infections.
And how did a Swiss company like yours even get to work with the New York subway?
Senator Cuomo announced an initiative, a so-called public-private partnership initiative, where startups could submit their solutions. Actually, we have been selected in a program out of more than 100 companies to work with MTA over a 1-year-long pilot through to the Transit Tech Lab. And just before the end, which is the 11th of June this year, of the kind of pilot, we had to shift our initiative, which essentially has been about personalized information in case of disruptions for MTA users towards to this kind of COVID-19.
Welcome to the Newsmaker. He is a man who has left a huge and lasting impact on the Swiss watchmaking industry. And the announcement of his retirement has almost brought time to a standstill. Welcome to the program, Mr. Beaver.
Thank you.
Great to have you here. First of all, how are you?
I'm quite well, I must say. I feel I was ill during more than 1 year, and I feel strength coming back in my blood, in my vein, in my heart, and that gives me an incredible strength. It's like when you go out of a tunnel and suddenly you see light. And so I feel optimistic, I feel strong, and I also feel as I would still rock my industry.
Maybe even more. Tell me about your plan to rock the boat of the Swiss or global watchmaking industry now.
You know, I'm now in the 17th year of my life, and probably I have another 15 years to go.
This is a new
Or
beginning
maybe
for
20.
you.
It's a new, exactly. I start, you know, I said you have to close a door before you open the next one. And I have just now opened a new door where I will have probably 10, 15 years to go. And what will I do? I will try to give back. When you have received a lot, and I received a lot from God already, my passion, my health, my success, at a certain moment, you have to give back. And I have entered now a period of giving back. And when you give back, your contribution is probably as important as it was before.
The US president has forever been accused of being only interested in political power. The coronavirus crisis came as an opportunity for him to consolidate this power. But Donald Trump's response tells a different story. It seems he is not interested in authority. This US president just wants attention. So he chooses to be sarcastic at press conferences to make headlines. He triggers controversies by peddling fake cures to stay in the news. He decides to stand out from the rest by not wearing a mask. And now Donald Trump has landed another big surprise. He is taking hydroxychloroquine. Why? Has he caught the virus? No, Donald Trump says he just likes taking it. And I promise I'm not making this up. You have to listen to him.
Did the White House doctor recommend that you take that? Is that why you're taking it?
Yeah, White House doctor. I didn't recommend. No, I asked him, what do you think? He said, well, if you'd like it. I said, yeah, I'd like it. I'd like to take it. A lot of people are taking it. A lot of frontline workers are taking hydroxychloroquine. A lot of I don't take it because, hey, people said, oh, maybe he owns the company. No, I don't own the company. You know what? I want the people of this nation to feel good. I don't want them being sick.
Virus or no virus, Donald Trump wants the people of his country to feel good by taking an unproven cure. Reporters at this press conference did not feel so good over this revelation. So he was asked this question repeatedly. Just why is he taking hydroxychloroquine when he's not infected? The responses kept getting better.
Can you explain, sir, though, why you started taking it? Have you been exposed?
Yeah, because no, not at all. I just said that I've had so many letters from people, but I get a lot of tremendously positive news on the hydroxy. And I say, hey, you know the expression I've used, John? What do you have to lose? Okay, what do you have to lose? So it's been heavily tested in terms of, I was just waiting to see your eyes light up when I said this, but you know, when I announced this. But yeah, I've taken it for about a week and a half now, and I'm still here.
I'm still here, he says. Guess what the health experts are saying? He won't be if he continues to take what he calls hydroxy for no reason, not hydroxychloroquine. He must listen to these voices.
Absolutely wrong. And I'm very disappointed to also see the letter written by his own physician, where the letter says, on balance, there is no harm in taking it, or words to that effect. If that was the case in the United Kingdom, that physician would be referred to the General Medical Council, and I would have pleasure in referring him to the General Medical Council, because this is wrong, unsafe.
He says that he has repeatedly tested negative for the coronavirus. So even as a treatment, this drug is unproven, but as a prevention, it's even more so unproven. There's just no data on its ability to prevent infection.
Only if somebody could convince President Donald Trump, convince him to stop taking it and convince him to stop pretending to be a wartime president. Donald Trump recently posted a fictional presidential speech on his Twitter handle. It's from the 1996 blockbuster Independence Day. This speech has been altered. Donald Trump's head is superimposed on the body of actor Bill Pullman. In the movie, the speech was about aliens. In this edited video, Trump is relaying the same speech, but aliens have been replaced by the coronavirus.
Words should have new meaning for all of us.
We indeed are. So let's wear a mask. Let's not be sarcastic about the pandemic, and let's definitely not take unproven cures only because we'd like to.
Madagascan President Andry Rajoelina has officially launched a medicine he believes can prevent and cure patients suffering from COVID-19. Developed by the Malagasy Institute of Applied Research and branded COVID Organics, President Rajoelina presented the so-called remedy to the press on Monday. It contains Artemisia, a plant cultivated on the Big Island to fight against malaria.
All trials and tests have been conducted, and its effectiveness in reducing the elimination of symptoms has been proven for the treatment of patients with COVID-19 in Madagascar.
President Rajoelina said Monday that it had cured 2 COVID-19 cases. A presidential decree said COVID Organics is mandatory for school children returning to school on Wednesday.
So today I think that I am convinced, in fact, that history will prove us right. But today there are already 2 cases that have been cured with the COVID Organics, but we'll actually see what happens next. COVID Organics will be used in prophylaxis, that is, preventive measure. But clinical observations have shown a trend towards its effectiveness in curative measures as well. Other clinical studies are currently underway.
Rajoelina's claims come amid scientific opinion that no cure for COVID-19 exists and that any experimental formula should be rigorously tested to see if it is safe and effective.
Equatorial Guinea chartered a special plane to collect 11,500 doses of COVID Organics, the purported anti-COVID-19 herbal remedy produced by Madagascar. Equatorial Guinea received 10,000 doses of supposedly preventive treatments and 1,500 doses of supposedly curative treatments donated by Madagascar. This is a gift given from the president, the Malagasy people, for the Guineans. We must not forget that it is important to help other countries, especially African countries, and it is urgent that we save human lives. Baptized COVID Organics, the tonic is derived from Artemisia, a plant with proven efficacy in treating malaria, as well as other indigenous herbs. My president wanted to be the first to express his support and also to look for a way to reinforce the cooperation between our nations. The concoction has been developed by the Madagascar Institute of Applied Research but has not been tested internationally. There is currently no known cure for coronavirus, which has infected at least 121 people in Madagascar and more than 2.6 million worldwide.
La position est que l'OMS encourage toutes les initiatives de recherche dans le cadre du Covid-19, mais ce qu'on recommande, c'est que tous ces essais-là se fassent selon des protocoles scientifiques. Et donc on ne peut pas d'emblée dire que voici un médicament qui est efficace, même s'il y a des passés peut-être historiques, traditionnels, que ce médicament ait contribué à quelque chose. Il faut absolument mettre en place un protocole de recherche. Peut-être qu'ils ont identifié quelque chose de prometteur, mais il n'y a pas encore d'évidence qui puisse nous permettre de le proposer ou de le reconnaître en tant que tel.
WHO offered his country the sum of $20 million as a bribe to poison COVID-19 cure, according to Tanzania Perspective. So, okay, basically this video is going to be looking into this. I'm going to be doing some like fact checking, bringing you guys along. Well, I've already done it, but I'm going to show you like the tunnel that I went down to find out like what the heck is going on here. It's from the Daily Post, my new favorite Nigerian newspaper. And they're claiming that the president of Madagascar, Mr. Rajoelina, says the WHO offered him $20 million to as bribe to poison his, what they're calling a COVID-19 cure, which is the drink called COVID Organics. I see in the title here it says video, so I was expecting to see an actual video of him making this claim, but what they had below was a transcript from an interview on France 24 News. And also, this picture from a Tanzanian newspaper, Tanzania Perspective, which says WHO offered $20 million bribe to see COVID-19 medicine poison Madagascar president. So the actual video that they had did not show him saying that, but I wasn't going to stop there. I was going to find out what really happened. So I found this on zimbabwe.shafakna.com. There's just basically a little blurb here, and then it says read on the original site, which turns out to be the Zambian Observer, which has the exact same headline. Okay, so now it's gone from the Nigerian papers, I've traced it back to the Zimbabwe papers, traced that back to the Zambian papers, who give a link then to Great Game India, an Indian paper. Apparently this is the original source, and they refer back to this Tanzanian newspaper, Tanzania Perspective. Note, there were not only these claims that this Madagascar president was saying the WHO had tried to bribe them to poison the product, but also that the president of Madagascar has called on all African nations to quit the World Health Organization. Here it says the president of Madagascar has called on all African nations to quit the World Health Organization because of the bad faith of Europe towards Africa. Europe created organizations with the desire for Africans to remain dependent on them. Africa has found a medicine against coronavirus, but Europe thinks they have a monopoly of intelligence. As such, they are refusing to acknowledge it. It is against this backdrop that I invite all African nations to quit the international organizations in order for us to build ours. No one will stop us from... A 57-year-old man who had underlying health issues was the first to die of COVID-19 in Madagascar, nearly 2 months after the first case hit the Eastern African island nation. I would say like that's a pretty good track record. 2 months and only 1 death?
This is 7th Street in Melville, Johannesburg, usually one of the city's most popular places to come socialize, dance, drink, and smoke. But for well over a month, not a single beer or packet of cigarettes has been sold here, legally anyway.
Legal beer was back from a long time between drinks.
The prohibition on alcohol and cigarettes here is part of a raft of restrictions on consumers aimed at curbing the spread of coronavirus. The South African government, in justifying its decision, framed drinking as an impediment to social distancing and also pointed to its links to risky behavior, domestic abuse, accidents, and violent crime.
He's a drunken driving arrest.
With a high incidence of various diseases nationwide, it raised the alarm that millions could be more susceptible to catching the disease if drinking and smoking continue unabated. But above all, government said it needs to free hospital beds, and trauma related to alcohol is known to fill up emergency rooms.
We've certainly shown through our modelling that we're probably saving just under 5,000 trauma beds per week through the banning of liquor sales in South Africa. How many can we fairly confidently say we're saving because of the lockdown measures on alcohol? It's about 15 deaths per day. But if you multiply that by the number of days of the lockdown, over 35 days, the mid-level figure would be 515 lives saved, which is substantially, probably double what we're seeing in terms of lives lost so far from COVID-19.
But this is little consolation to people who rely on alcohol and tobacco sales to earn a living.
That's a really problem for those on which are surviving through the alcohol, through selling alcohol. It's a pity for them, but at the same time, alcohol, you know, that is a problem in our country.
People are drinking here a lot, so if you guys are opening the alcohol bags, a lot of families will struggle for food and stuff like that.
A flatlining economy has also prompted criticism the ban is robbing the fiscus of much-needed tax revenue, right as authorities have ramped up emergency social spending. Combined excise duties on beer, wine, spirits and cigarettes in April amounted to about $19 million. Overall, that's a very small part of the budget, but tax earnings are way down and the collector needs every cent that they can get. To make matters worse, the tax commissioner warned the ban may also be helping illegal trade fill the supply gap.
Okay, we're losing something in excise taxes, but what are we gaining on the other side? We find that there'd be a savings of about 900 million just in trauma savings alone. Well, from a syntax point of view, it's generally well known, not only from research in South Africa, but other countries, that the costs to society broadly, the health and social costs, are roughly double what we get in excise tax and value-added tax. We think of the short-term taxes that are coming into the fiscus, we don't really work out what are the other costs of having it. And I'm certainly not saying we should get rid of alcohol, but we need to have some conversations about how we can have a new normal and what it might look like.
And thank you for all that you've done.
Other criticisms, meanwhile, include that government has overstepped with a range of lockdown restrictions. The leader of the opposition, for example, went so far as to say that authorities are treating citizens like children by imposing several irrational rules. He called the ban on tobacco in particular draconian after government initially lifted the ban after 5 weeks, then backtracked a few days later.
People might think I support prohibition. I've been called a prohibitionist on Twitter, but I'm not. I consume alcohol and I don't like people telling me what to do. But many people are living in very crowded, difficult circumstances, and the government can't have different policies for different socioeconomic groups. We have to look at the way drinking occurs. More wealthy people drink generally than poorer, but their burden is higher amongst the poorer sectors of society. When you're limiting people's liberties, I think governments do better when they take the population with them. I think it's very important to share scientific information. We need to do more of that with alcohol particularly, and also with tobacco. We haven't done that, managed that PR process well. Certainly, I think we all thought that the cigarette ban was going to be lifted, and we really just had the population told to go cold turkey without much support. And I think a caring government, it would be good to see showing some empathy for people who are struggling with this, rather than having the image being a law enforcement image. If we catch you, we're going to lock you up, and we don't need it.
On the 30th of March, businesses across Nigeria's busiest centres were forced to close as people were ordered to stay at home. Now this shop and many like it have been allowed to reopen between the hours of 9 a.m. and 3 p.m.
Us, we sell perishable goods here, so we need to open every day. So for it to lock down for weeks, then that's quite a big issue for us. But thank God for us reopening again.
There are more people out on the streets, but the prolonged lockdown has left many out of pocket.
People have exhausted all the money they have. That's why everywhere is dry now. There's no customers.
Meanwhile, ongoing coronavirus measures continue to have serious implications for the country's informal jobs market. Rickshaw drivers, for one, have been told they're not allowed to carry more than 2 passengers at a time.
It's not really a good thing carrying 2 passengers because we are not going to make up to the money we are making before.
Elsewhere, street vendors are spying an opportunity, with homemade face masks now joining snacks and drinks as travel essentials. Nigerian authorities are calling this stage 1 of lockdown easing, with the national situation set to be reassessed.
Citizens have returned to work, but will they follow social distancing protocols and use of face mask put in place by the Lagos State government? We head around the city to find out the level of compliance.
I feel happy coming back to work. If government should permit me, I will feel relaxed, because each day I come, some of us we depend on daily basis like this. So if I come, no how, I must get 1,000 or 1,500 to go back to work and take care of my family.
70%, well, I would say a large majority of Lagosians and Nigerians, they need to eat. Okay, they need to feed on a day-to-day basis. Whatever they earn today, they spend today on their food.
I'm here to make a deposit of check from my company. So on getting here, what I met here was something amazing, because I didn't believe what I'm seeing now. We have a lot of crowd at the bank entrance, and number two, they didn't allow people to enter, maybe due to the coronavirus. And what I also noticed is that they said we should give ourselves a social distance. But what I'm seeing here, there's nothing like social distance. And I don't know how we are going to solve this problem now. We don't know who has the COVID-19 and who doesn't have. Assume if we have anyone that is positive with the COVID-19 here now, there's no way it will not transmit it to another person that doesn't have. And because social distances is not practicing here now.
My motor is 40 passenger. I'm driving 40 passenger. Now, inside of that 40 passenger, instead of me to carry 14, I carry 10. I carry 10 passenger. Upon all, one person for front. I carry 10. Now, the last man now discharge my passenger, they take my motor away. Huh?
2 passengers on each row, and they still arrested him. That's not fair. There's no sense, there's no reason. They just said we should park. They said the conductor is hanged. So I was so surprised when they said that we should drop down here. But my question is that, is it that some selected area in Lagos have been selected for the first emergency to work? Because right now in mainland, vehicles have been there loading 4433. So I was surprised when we reach here. They said that it's 22. You can see 22. But then in mainland, they are loading 4433. He carried 22 on each road, 22 on each road. I was in the bus. And even what the governor said was they should carry 33 on each road.
Each bus that carrying 4 before, you should stop carrying 4. You should carry 33 for seats. But now, when they saw us now, we are coming out. They arrest us, stop us. Is it polite? Is what governor said now? It's on YouTube. Say all these corrupt should be carried 22. Okada should not work. Marwa should be carried 2.
Fuzzling us was the fact that the federal government has banned all mining activities since 2016 in Zamfara. So we are not expecting to see even a Nigeria engaging in gold activities, and not to talk about even a Chinese national. But you are living witness. The Chinese personnel are here, and they are engaged very much in that illegal mining. From here, we'll transfer them to Abuja. In Abuja, we will make necessary decisions and our own stop at.
The Commissioner of Police, Zamfara Command, Usman Nagogo, joins me now for more on this development. Good to have you join us this hour. Now, we know that the federal government in 2019 banned all mining activities following the spate of banditry in Zamfara. Now, how did these miners gain access, and what informed the police to go after the miners?
Well, just as you rightly said, the government felt there is a sort of nexus between cattle rustling, banditry, and mining activities. So in 2018, it took a step in trying to control that situations. And that's what informed the federal government to ban the mining activities then. So since then, the mining activity has stopped, and there wasn't any mining activity in the state until of recent, when we had an information that some foreigners in concert with Nigerians were engaged in mining activities. So we followed that information. We went to one of the village called Kwali in Bukun local government, and we met what we saw. It was an ISO. It was a mining situations that one could not explain at that particular moment. Hundreds of people were in that particular site, including the foreigners, but they took the flight. They were able to follow certain information. We got to where they are, and were able to apprehend the Chinese and some Nigerians.
Illegal miners
particularly the Chinese, have been taking advantage of the state in this aspect for many years. Their activities have led to environmental degradation in the affected communities, while Osun River has also been polluted as a result of poisonous metals. In order to check this trend, operatives of the Joint Task Force, with the support of Amatekun, apprehend some of them at their mining sites.
The solid mineral sector is a major area that the government is looking into. In order to sanitize, to enforce the regulations, it was important for us to cross-check the entire axis where mining is being carried out for illegality.
According to him, most of them have no mining licenses.
Most of the licenses they parade are not mining licenses, they're actually exploration licenses. We do not allow them in the first instance to dig into the ground and carry out any form of mining. Exploration requires a lot of geological work first. Thereafter, they convert it into a mining license, which I'm certain that they do not have, and they have never presented such. And none of these companies are officially registered with the state.
But one of them, who could only speak passable English, said she is not aware that they were engaging in illegal mining.
Tell us the nature of the job you do.
Them do mina work of the good.
What is the name of the company that you work for?
Have different company, because any company need actual hand to do some work, I will help.
Are you aware that what you are doing is illegal?
No.
The Director General of Amatekun in the state, Amitolu Shitu, warned illegal miners to stay away from the state.
Those who are into illegal mining should desist from such, no matter their position in the society. We cannot continue to keep silence, ruin the Commonwealth of Nigeria. It is too bad.
The state government has promised that all the people that have been arrested will be taken to court and prosecuted and be made to pay for damages.